Okay, as I said before the break, I hope everybody enjoyed the break. There are good conversations going on. Uh, now we have a really interesting panel, as I said before. It's about the future of exchanges, and it will be your host will be Brian Fabian Crane. He's the founder from the biggest Bitcoin meetup in Germany in Berlin, and he's the founder of a Bitcoin co-working space in Berlin, and of Epicenter, the blog, and sorry for that. Now it's working, and Brian Fabian Crane will be your host on this session. There will be guests from Vietnam, from Germany, and from China, so it will be really interesting. And Brian, it's your part now, right?
Yeah, thanks very much. So please, our guests, come forward. So Dominic Weil, he's the co-founder of Bitcoin Vietnam, which is a Vietnamese Bitcoin exchange that has just launched recently. Then Andre Marchuk. He is, some of you may have seen his talk yesterday. He was talking about Yakuna, and of course we all see the badges and stuff, so they just launched a new exchange. And Zane Tackett, who is the manager of international operations at OKCoin, which is a Chinese exchange, kind of a large Bitcoin exchange. So the topic we're going to talk about is Bitcoin exchanges. Now, Bitcoin exchanges, of course, are kind of a fundamental part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, the Bitcoin world. And it's interesting that the title of the panel also talks about bringing Bitcoin to the masses. So I think that will be an interesting thing to talk about as well, is what role Bitcoin exchanges can play with that. You know, if it has to go through them, if it will go. And it will be interesting to hear from, you know, these guys operating in very different places. And so perhaps let's start with you, Dominic. Can you tell us what made you start a Bitcoin exchange in Vietnam?
Basically because there was no Bitcoin exchange in Vietnam, no legit official Bitcoin exchange so far. We saw that there's some underground activity going on, so people are just posting, okay, I'm buying, selling Bitcoins on Facebook or some special tech forums in Vietnam, but there was not any official exchange. And if you look on the surface, what's happening in Vietnam, then you probably don't see much going on if you look from an outsider perspective. You see maybe our exchange, there's not too much volume, but if you look under the surface and do your research, then you see that actually there's a lot going on in Vietnam. Probably the volume in the underground markets is 2 orders of magnitude higher than what's going on our exchange. And also we were visiting a big data center of one of the biggest telecommunication companies in Vietnam, and they're running huge mining farms with thousands of miners, but all still underground because they also don't want to meddle with the government. So this is the issue in Vietnam, that people are still, they don't want that the government is scrutinizing them, so they just do it without government oversight. But of course, it is somehow necessary then to build a legit Bitcoin exchange to really bring it to the masses, to come back to the title of the discussion.
And perhaps for many of us who will not know what's going on with Bitcoin in Vietnam, can you tell us something that perhaps would surprise us all, that maybe interesting ways that it's used there, or things that you think will happen in the future where Bitcoin is particularly well positioned in Vietnam?
Yeah, well, there was, for example, a big computer company in Hanoi which was accepting Bitcoin back in April, but when they were announcing this, they were also harassed by local tax authorities, and they were coming every day and wanted to see the books and whatever. And because in Vietnam, basically every company is cooking their books, they didn't want to have this attention anymore. They said, okay, we don't accept it anymore, but if you email them, you can still buy your stuff with Bitcoin. This is how it works basically in Vietnam. So the people don't care too much about the rules. They just do their stuff, but they try to avoid government attention. We at least got quite a lot of attention because we were really going out with a press release and everything. And we got the attention by all big newspapers in Vietnam. The state television was coming to us and interviewing us. And I think the tide is turning a bit in Vietnam, because before it was really all these newspaper articles, which everyone knows here, that only for hackers, terrorists, whatever. But now, for example, in this TV report in VTV, also the TV reporter was saying then, okay, somehow Vietnam should regulate it, recognize it. At least it was not more this hostile like you had it before. So our work somehow starts to become fruitful.
Okay, so Andre, can you maybe 2 minutes give us, for those who missed yesterday and haven't yet heard of Yakuna, tell us about what you guys are planning to do?
Okay, Yakuna is a regulated exchange launched yesterday. This is the reason why the most of you didn't heard about Yakuna. But if you look on your name badge, there is a voucher code on the back of the badge. Yeah, you can redeem this voucher after registration on Yakuna. It is a small amount of bitcoins, 10 millibitcoins or 10,000 Dogecoins or 1 Litecoin behind each voucher. So redeem it and start trading. Yeah, welcome to Yakuna. We started with development of Yakuna last year after we realized the German community, the European community needs a regulated exchange, a full banking compliant exchange to get off fears of moving money to Panama or such similar cases we don't accept here in Germany or in Europe.
Okay, and now to finish our introductions, Zane, can you tell us a little bit about OKCoin? And I'm specifically curious about its future as a Chinese exchange, because we've had so many news. Are you guys going to move your operations completely abroad?
So to start, we're not just a Chinese exchange anymore. We are international. But for a little brief about OKCoin, we are technically speaking the largest in China and the largest in the world by volume. Now have a USD order book that we run through our international exchange and that company in Singapore. And then we have our Chinese exchange, which is famous for its very high volume with no fees, and that's based out of Beijing. So as we look forward, we will probably end up opening an international office, but that is heavily dependent on where we get our users. So if most of them are in America and the bit license doesn't go through, then we will go to America. If most of them are in Germany or Netherlands, that's another option, or maybe Hong Kong, Japan, Korea. So right now it's just all about wherever our users go, we will try and be a little bit more apparent there. But right now we're trying to give traders the most options. We have algorithmic trading tools. We have futures trading, which gives up to 10 times leverage. We have pretty good liquidity on our USD order book and very good liquidity on our Chinese order book. Almost no slippage, and so we're just trying to give traders a place that they can come and trade.
So perhaps let's also ask the audience, who here trades actively? So perhaps does more than a few trades. Okay. So maybe 5 people. Are your products, perhaps a question to all of you, are they primarily designed for traders? I guess in your case, right, if you offer like a margin and all leverage trading, that would be the case. Or are you more targeting perhaps businesses that build services on top of it, or retail customers? Can we go briefly through that?
Basically both. We started our broker exchange back in March, and this offers also some additional options like doing remittance to Vietnam or also some kind of merchant cash out. And then in July we started also the live exchange. Right now probably it's not too much attractive for traders because there's not too much going on yet, but we are working on this, that yeah, there's also more activity for traders in Vietnam.
Trading is only our first use case we implemented. Our decision was to implement trading first because we see it's the most used case now in the Bitcoin community. Yeah, what the people do, the people trade. Yeah, so we decided to start with trading, but on the way we build bridges. We understand it's a very complicated way to bring Bitcoin into the masses. So we decided to build it on the similar way as old school trading or old school tools to reuse this experience the people know from the current way to trade, to buy things, and so on.
So would there be kind of a segmentation between like some people trading on the exchange, and then you'll have other services for more regular people who just want to buy some Bitcoins?
Yeah, we plan the next use case in our backlog is a plastic card backed by virtual currencies, is a bridged product as well to use or to be able to use Bitcoin in not Bitcoin compliant point of sale.
Currently, we are more geared towards traders, but that might not be the case in a few months down the road. We might offer similar products to an exchange that are better for retail purchases, such as a brokerage. Like I don't really think an exchange will really take off to where it becomes where most people buy and sell their Bitcoin. I imagine that a brokerage would probably do that better. A place like Coinbase or a place like Circle. Um, and the other part that we offer is we offer merchant services in ways of futures. So if you guys have been paying attention to Overstock CEO, he's doing a lot. Patrick Byrne, he's doing a lot for Bitcoin. And one thing that he said that the industry needs is a futures platform so that he can hedge his risks and make sure that he gets the investment back on the products that he was paid. And right now, the only way to do that is to sell your Bitcoin as soon as you get them. And that's what BitPay and Coinbase do to the merchants. But instead, we have a futures platform where you can hedge your risk, and not really have to deal with the volatility of Bitcoin as much. So there are merchant services there, and the same goes for miners. Miners also need that service. And then if you're a trader, you can also come to the exchange, or if you just want to buy Bitcoin, you have that option as well. But I don't see an exchange being the most user friendly or what will bring Bitcoin to the masses.
Are you guys also planning on implementing leverage trading, margin trading, maybe some options futures in the future on new exchanges?
Yes, we do, because there are all use cases traders need. Yeah, we already implemented a broad API to be able to connect e-money as an exchange to trading tools. Yeah, the people use. Yeah.
Yeah, we are actively looking into this market as well, and maybe come up with a solution later this year.
So one of the, as I mentioned in the introduction, one of the titles of this talk is bringing Bitcoin to the masses. So what do you think is going to be the role for an exchange to bring Bitcoin to the masses? Do you see that as one of your tasks, or do you think that's more something that other players in the ecosystem will be responsible for?
I mean, we also play our role in this for sure. I mean, we are going to local universities talking about Bitcoin, going to the media, of course. We are running a blog in Vietnam where we are translating articles from all over the world, which may be interesting. It gets quite some attention from the Bitcoin community in Vietnam. Also, the state bank in Vietnam is reading it to know more about Bitcoin, so we can use it to bring out our message straight to the state bank. Yeah, apart from this, I think Vietnam is somehow poisoned to really adopt Bitcoin, because if you see, people don't really trust the banks, people don't trust paper money, people usually store their wealth in gold somehow at home. So you don't have to go to the people and explain them, yeah, this paper currency stuff is maybe not really good. everyone knows they already. This is different from Germany, where 80% of the people still store their money in fiat currency in the banks. So once people start to understand that Bitcoin is a viable alternative there, then just via mouth-to-mouth propaganda, this will take off in Vietnam. And another thing which is quite interesting for the Vietnamese market is, of course, the remittance market. You have 4 million Vietnamese people living abroad. I think the official numbers was something like $11 billion coming back to Vietnam every year. And basically every family has to deal with it because they have family members abroad sending money home, or maybe the wealthier families sending their kids abroad to study there. They want to send money out of the country. So everyone somehow is in need of something like this, but they need to learn how to use it. So, but when this is going to happen, then I think we will see an explosion.
You just mentioned that phenomenon that there is much more the thinking that storing wealth in bitcoins is it's happening more often in Vietnam. I heard the same happens in China. Why do you think that phenomenon is in Asian countries happening more often? Is there some kind of ideas why that could be?
Yeah, I mean, this is just the history. If you see that, I mean, right now it's not that worse, but they had 3 to 5 years ago something like inflation of 20%. So everyone knows that if they keep their money in Vietnam dong, it's always going to worth less and less and less. So, and then you have that banks are in Vietnam really going bankrupt. This is an opposite to Europe, where they always get bailed out by the government. So if people store their money with someone else, then they can lose it. And this is why people in Vietnam try to store their wealth on their own. And this is, of course, some concept which is also brought by Bitcoin, that people have control over their own money. And I think this is why it's quite interesting for the market. And it's already in the minds of the people that they want to be in control of their money, which is different from Europe or the US.
Yeah, if you guys have more questions, just let me know, and we can take those at any time. There was another topic I want to touch on briefly, and it seems to me that exchange is kind of a commodity business, right? Like, I mean, if you trade dollars or euros for Bitcoin, you don't care too much like what platform, as long as you know you get the money and I guess the best exchange rate. So I guess also one thing we have seen is, you know, I guess China being the best example, zero trading fees, and it seems to be kind of to be expected that a similar thing is going to happen in other markets. The more competition there is, that the trading fees will have to go to zero or close to zero. So what do you think the future way for an exchange to make money is going to be? Do you think that's going to be trading fees or something else? So perhaps.
Yeah, I can touch on this. Well, first off, our Chinese exchange has zero fees, but our international exchange still has fees, by the way. So we're not completely zero fees. But I believe it'll lie in value-added services, things that other you can't get with no-fee exchanges other places. But I do think that the end result will definitely be zero fees. Decentralized exchanges that they don't need the servers to run. They don't have everything that they need to charge money for, and so it will be zero fees. But then you get the pros of a centralized exchange, which can make fixed quicks or put more effort to creating a better platform. And because they have that better platform, they could charge for some of those services. Like we charge 0.1% on closing your futures contract. And so that's a very small amount. And since very few other places have futures contracts, we can probably keep that fee around for a while, or you know, somebody else comes out with great futures and it's fee free, we come out with something else that's different. So there'll always be value added services. There'll always be something else that you can add. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the value-added service is a good point. Yeah, such thing as secure storage and multi-signature addresses or escrow close on exchange. There are points what the people knows from the old school banking and we should reuse this experience. We should provide banking-like experience in Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, I have to concur with my two colleagues. So it's all about the added value which you can bring to the customer. I mean, if they don't want to pay fees, then they probably will have options to do, like he said, decentralized exchanges or doing other ways around. But what the exchange has to bring to the customers is that it goes fast and more comfort and stuff like this. And this is where you can charge the fees then.
Yeah. Speaking of secure storage, I was curious how you divide or decide on proportionally what coins you store in cold storage, warm storage, and hot storage. If you can say anything about it, it's not a trade secret.
Okay. Yeah, the majority of our funds is stored offline and in a multi-sig wallet. So yeah, nothing can happen when just one key somehow is lost or whatever. And yeah, so just a minority of the coins is actually in the hot wallet.
We use multisig as well with an internal escrow service. So we use a concept 2 or 3 keys are needed for each transaction. So if you get a key from customer, you cannot move the coins away.
You only keep enough coins in your hot wallet to be able to facilitate the movement that's going on at that point in time. So you always want to have at least 100% of the Bitcoin in your cold storage, which we had 104.86%, I believe, as of last Friday. And so you want to keep 100% of your users' funds in cold storage. That way you know that, even if your hot storage gets hit and you lose that money, you still are completely solvent. All of the money is there that the customers need. And so ideally you want at least 100% in cold storage, if not more. Well, we have anytime you have over 100%, what that means is, if people sell everything they have on your exchange, you're fine. So if that happened to our company, we'd still have, whatever profit we have left, which was 4.86%. But you only need enough in the hot wallet for transactions that are happening at that time. You don't need to keep excessive funds in there.
Okay.
My name is Matthias Klees, and as you looked 2 weeks ago, I think, I want to talk about the hedge number. You said you also offer hedge funds.
No, we don't offer hedge funds. We allow users or traders to hedge their risk with futures.
Yes, because we saw problems of connecting Bitcoin to funds like this about 2 weeks ago, which had a great influence on going down of the price of the Bitcoin because this didn't work as well.
Oh, are you talking about the flash cash on Bitfinex, the leverage trading? Right. Okay. So, well, first of all, we have this comment in CoinDesk as well. Leverage trading is only a way for the users to trade. If they want to sell, they're going to sell whether or not they can sell at 5x, 10x, 1x. So downward pressure is going to push the market down. That's the plain and simple of it. But having that much leverage can lead to hiccups. And one thing that Bitfinex has is you can see at what prices these swaps will be called in. And so if you ever frequent our Bitcoin markets, there was a margin call watch. And basically at the points that, all right, at this point, we're going to have this much BTC sell. And somebody could see that, sell that many Bitcoin, and then hit that margin call. And then the price drops down. They had a 9,000 BTC 15-minute candlestick. And so that was easy to manipulate because you could see at what price you would need to put the price for it to dump the coins. And so one way that we try and get around this is for our futures, which has 10 times leverage, is we use a BTC index. It compiles a price from 10 different exchanges. So that way, if somebody tries, and if something like Bitfinex happens and you have a flash crash, that only accounts for 10% of the data that we use in the price. We also have BTC, Bitstamp, Huobi, BTC China, and so we use a pool of exchanges. But that being said, if people are selling Bitcoin, the price is going to go down. Leverage trading is the only method that they can use to do that.
Okay, then let me ask a question. So you mentioned decentralized exchanges before, and I guess this is an area where there's been a lot of development. Do you think that is OKCoin gonna replace itself with a decentralized exchange at some point? Do you think there will be serious competition through decentralized exchanges?
I do believe the end game lies in a decentralized exchange. Well, maybe not decentralized, but at least P2P. So decentralized exchanges also come with their problems. Like if you look at the Bitcoin code, it's decentralized. Anybody can comment on it. But all these people have all these great ideas that they want to see implemented. And then somebody else finds one small flaw with it and they go, okay, no, we can't do this anymore. And so a decentralized exchange, you might have a perfect decentralized exchange that's zero fee, but then something comes out and they want to add futures trading, they want to add peer-to-peer lending. It can take a very long time for people to come to a consensus on this code. And so centralized exchanges very much do have the advantage of, hey guys, we want this. All right, let's get it done by next week. And we have a team of over 100 employees right now, so you can see it working very much in the office. You have the whiteboard up, and somebody will write, we want to get this done, and you see the guys up until 3 a.m. at night getting that done. And with the decentralized exchange, you can't really have that because it has to be agreed upon by everybody. And so somebody can spend all this hour writing code and nah, people don't like it. And so decentralized exchanges also come with their issues. I think in the end you will find a good balance of decentralized exchanges that the average person can use, not have to worry about getting their funds stolen or stuff like that. But then the centralized exchanges will also continue to play their part.
I think decentralized and distributed exchanges will be definitely the future, but the question is when. It's a long, long way we have to go to reach it, and this is everyone of us has already tried to explain Bitcoin to the grandmama. Yeah, it's a very hard job. So I think we should build the bridges. We should move the people smooth into this direction. The people first have to understand Bitcoin.
Yeah, I agree. The centralized exchanges right now, it's really the bridge needed somehow to get people into it. But regarding the decentralized exchanges, like I said already, even if they don't use a software or something like this, in Vietnam, the majority of Bitcoin trades is decentralized because they are just, like they're talking on any forums or in Facebook or whatever, and the people are used already to trade decentralized with trusted people maybe, which they usually sell their Bitcoins to. Yeah, but the majority in Vietnam right now is decentralized already. We hope to shift it a bit more to the centralized exchange as well, but people are used to it in Vietnam already.
I have a question, Pavel Kravchenko, Stellar. When you talked about decentralized exchange, I thought you meant not decentralized exchange in the full understanding, because decentralized exchange can play a role of dispute resolution platform. So it could be a team which develops some features, but the only drawback is the speed of trading, because in this case you need to wait to release your bitcoins until you receive your payment, the fiat payment. So it could take up to a few days, and that's, I see, the only drawback of these kind of exchanges. But the user interface could be as the same, as easy as on other exchanges.
And of course, that's much less of an issue if you have cryptocurrency exchange, right? That's only when you fiat Bitcoin that becomes a real problem. I don't know, Zane, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, sure. with decentralized exchanges, you do have many problems with speed, but these are things that can be tackled and be dealt with using third-party services. So things like not PayPal, but what's the other one? OKPay, I think, is they have no chargebacks, and so that can help to deal with the time. But there are inherent problems of a decentralized exchange that I think Coinify is one of the companies trying to get that fixed and come out with the first decentralized exchange. But I do believe that the product features of a decentralized exchange would also be an option, because if it is a big exchange, it would have to have consensus among the majority of users on whether or not they want that, or at least the majority of developers or those running the nodes. And if you can see with Bitcoin, it's not always an easy consensus. So every change that would be made would affect a lot of people, and so the decentralized exchange would have to be a little bit slower with their products than a centralized exchange would be.
Any more questions? Okay, then perhaps let's do one last round, and perhaps each of you can go through and tell us where do you think the company or your exchange will be like in, let's be crazy in the future and say 2 years.
Well, first of all, I'd like to answer a question I didn't get to answer a little bit earlier, is what can exchanges do to get the hands of, or get Bitcoin into the hands of everybody? And an exchange as is, I don't think will end up being the tool that does that. People don't like to look at the bid-ask spread. They don't like to look at the candlestick charts. They want something like Circle. You click buy Bitcoin, it's in your wallet, you're done. And so I think many exchanges will offer this in the not too long future, in 2 years definitely, because they do want to have a larger audience base. They want to have the retail grandma who just wants to try it to buy her pizza at a discount, and they want to have the traders who are using it to run their bots and make all their trades. But I'd say in 2 years, Bitcoin will be the best. No, but I do believe it'll be much more international. I think you'll see many of the exchanges consolidate. As right now, for instance, OKCoin doesn't have SEPA banking, and so Bitstamp and ANX and all those exchanges have a huge leg up on us because they have this feature. But it's only a matter of time until other exchanges get that feature, and then some of the exchanges will start to fall off. And so I think in the very soon future, you will start to see a few exchanges start to last while other exchanges start to fall off. And another example of this is Atlas going into Japan to try and rebuild MT Gox with BitOcean. It's an exchange that has strong regulatory presence in America that'll soon have Japan, and then they can start to try and spread out after having a strong base. But it's the getting started part that's hardest. And so I think here soon we'll start to see some of the smaller exchanges that offer niche markets or have a few things that they can do, but it's only a matter of time until others do start to fall off.
So you think there's going to be a consolidation and there will be a few big exchanges that emerge as kind of victors?
That is correct.
With
Yeah.
OKCoin being at the top.
Yeah.
I think the weak point of exchanges today is fiat money, or better, the way how to fiat money can be transferred. It's no go in comparing to Bitcoin or altcoins. So I think we will have in 2 years fiat Bitcoinized. We will send and receive fiat on the same way as Bitcoin, and it will be the biggest step. Technologies are there; we can use it. It should be tuned. It should be accepted by the communities, and it should be implemented.
Yeah, our aim for the next 2 years is probably definitely to dig deeper into the remittance market with the existing networks there, and also to integrate with more business in Vietnam. You have an exploding e-commerce sector in Vietnam. It's growing last year over 300%, but the people still have problems with secure online payments. And we were at the official banking conference in Hanoi earlier this year, and all these banking experts were trying to figure out what to do about secure online payments in Vietnam. We were just thinking, yeah, well, just let's adopt Bitcoin, because right now people are doing this somehow with PayPal, and also credit cards is still a problem in Vietnam. They are not really adopted, and therefore you have in Vietnam the highest rate of credit card fraud in the region. So every merchant, every online merchant has problems with secure online payments, and I think Bitcoin can deliver the solution.
Okay, thanks very much, guys. I guess if anybody has more questions, they'll be around all day, so you can find them afterwards and ask them more questions about the exchanges. So thanks so much.